Hi, I'm Adrian Davis, and welcome to the High Stakes Customer Podcast. This show is about one simple truth that changes everything in sales, leadership, and growth. And that simple truth is this: when the stakes are high, your customer is the hero. This podcast is brought to you by Whetstone, where we believe that high stakes growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens when organizations align how they understand customers, how teams work together, and how decisions get executed under pressure. Whetstone, sell sharper, grow faster. Today, we're going to be covering principle number 5, which is coach for transformation. What do I mean by coach for transformation? Well, first of all, what I'll say is this. In my observation, most organizations do not have a coaching culture. They have a managerial culture. So what's the difference? In a managerial culture, it's all about driving numbers and running reports and performance and improving performance. If there is any coaching that takes place in these types of organizations, it's what I call deal coaching. That is to say, there's a significant opportunity, a high stakes opportunity that's in the funnel, and we're going to bring the team together or work with the sales professional, the leader, to get this deal across the finish line. What do we have to do to get this deal across the finish line? So that's good. That's deal coaching, and it's important, and it doesn't happen enough. Most organizations, there's no coaching at all. There's just running reports and looking at performance and trying to push more performance. So in these organizations, I say the first level that I see is deal coaching. Where we want to get to, it's not that deal coaching isn't important, but what's more important is what I call developmental coaching. This is where we're developing capability within the organization. We're looking at the human beings that work with us, the human beings that might report to us. And we're asking ourselves the question, how can we help them grow in a way that will make them more successful? How can we help them grow in a way that not only will they be able to achieve what's important to them, what's important to their customer, but also what's important to us? We're the ones who's paying for them. They need to achieve what's important to us as well. So it can be a true win-win-win. I think this level of coaching is critical for a couple of reasons. The first one that comes to mind is retention. What's the old saying? That people don't leave companies, they leave managers. And that is by and far so true, that when you see somebody defecting and you drill down like what happened, 9 times out of 10, something broke down in the relationship with their immediate manager. And often what they see is, this person doesn't care for me, or I think this person is taking steps that are not in my best interest. So I think number 1 is retention. And then the second reason I think developmental coaching is so much more important than this managerial performance mindset is what I was saying earlier in the other podcasts. It's sort of like a repeated theme. The world is changing so fast. The pace of change is accelerating. And whatever the world was at the beginning of the year, halfway through the year, it's a different world. And so if we're just telling people what to do and then managing whether or not they do it and getting them to do it faster or longer, that's okay in a stable world, as long as the world continues to operate the way it did at the beginning of the year or last year. But what if that's not true? What if the world is constantly changing and the things that we're asking them to do no longer make sense? But we haven't developed in them the ability to think critically. And we haven't developed in them the confidence to make decisions and to change the course of action. This is why developmental coaching is important. We want your people, or you want your people, to know that you actually care about them. You care about the human being that shows up for work every day, and you want what's best for them. And also, you need them to operate with a degree of autonomy. You need them to make a call in the field. It's like they're in the battle, They're in the race, they're in the game, and you can't coach them in the game. You need them to be able to assess and decide in the game. And you need to develop that. It's a muscle. You need to develop that muscle in your people. What I've seen in the organizations that successfully do this is they develop a coaching culture. And they expect their managers to be coaches. And that means they want to ensure there's a very positive relationship between the manager and the people that they are managing. These are intelligent, capable people. Let's make sure we're building a healthy culture, a culture where people feel it's okay to admit mistakes. It's okay to be transparent, because the people that you're working with and for actually care about you as a human being. So these coaches work from a goal orientation, that for each of the people that work with them on their team, they want to know personally what's important to you. Where do you see your career? How does this job that you're in right now, what's the path you're on? How is it a stepping stone to where you want to go? Ultimately, where are you trying to get to? And I want to help you get there. I don't expect you to be working for me in this role for the next 25 years. We know the world is always moving on. This is a chapter we have together. How can I set you up for success in such a way that, yes, you will be successful in pursuing your goals, but you're also going to help me be successful in pursuing mine? So how do we ensure this is win-win? So this is where the coaching culture begins. That coaching, it's not punitive. It's not focused solely on performance. That coaching is this beautiful, encouraging, supportive environment that we're creating where people trust one another. And this is how we get better performance out of our team members, when there's high trust in the organization. And we as managers create this culture of trust. And it starts by people realizing, wow, my manager is in my corner. I've got a bit of an issue. Rather than hide it, I'm going to go to my manager and share it with them because of the culture that's been created. So we start there. What are you trying to get to? How can I help? How does this role strategically help you in the long run? And let's make sure that we stay true to that. And it's win-win for everybody. That's where we start. Now, all coaching is in the context of that North Star. Even though we're trying to solve a problem for this quarter, we have something we're trying to do this quarter, we're trying to do it in a way that we keep the North Star in view. We're trying to do it in a way that's developing the human, not just about getting the result. And this is how we build high trust. Now what happens in a coaching culture is, as the manager, I don't have to have the answers. In fact, my value is having the questions. So now you come and we have a cadence. Ideally, we're meeting one-on-one weekly, but there's some sort of a cadence that we have. And there's also the ad hoc meetings. But let's just deal with the regular cadence. We're meeting weekly in our one-on-ones. We're going to start with what's on their mind. What is the issue they're trying to deal with right now? And then we're going to put it in the context of, how does solving this relate to your strategic goal? Let's make sure that everything we're doing together ultimately is helping you achieve your goal and helping me achieve my goal. Now, once we've put that in context, we need to explore, okay, what's the issue? What are the alternatives? What are the different approaches you could take? And the one thing I'm not going to do as the manager is give you the answer. Because now, if I do that, I'm just making clones of myself. And now when you're in the field and you're in the game, you haven't developed the muscle and the critical thinking skills to decide what to do in the moment. It's like you have to wait until you meet with me a week later to get direction from me what to do next. So what my objective is to develop a critical thinker, a rational person, a person who knows what questions they should be asking themselves and how to compare alternate courses of action. So my value as a manager and as a coach is the questions that I bring. And to just really go below the surface and get them to think out loud and get them to think in ways that they wouldn't have if I didn't ask these questions. So we're going to go through that process. And then once we've explored the different options, we now want to focus on action. Many times we jump to action too quickly, and there was a better option, but we didn't consider it. So as managers, we want our people to consider all the options. And then once they've identified the different courses of action, we then want to explore which is best. And again, they're now thinking not just of the immediate outcome, but also of their long-term outcome. This is a developmental opportunity as well. And so now we can select a course of action. And what I want to do before this coaching session ends is get them to absolute clarity. What is the course of action they're taking? Who else is involved? What else do they need? Who else do they need? And by when will these things be done? And so they leave that session with absolute clarity. I've had a number of salespeople tell me how much they dread their one-on-ones with their managers. And I ask why. And this is a complete waste of time. It's like, I'm busy. I don't have time for this. But when we have managers that are truly coaches, we have professionals who look forward to the time they have. It's like sacred time. They look forward to the time that they have with their manager and the opportunity to think out loud and to feel free to think openly and transparently, and knowing that the person they're talking with is in their corner. And this is just a wonderful opportunity, again, to develop that high trust culture. The other thing that I've seen with strong coaching cultures is that the organization is very clear on the competencies that must be developed and mastered in order to do well in the role. So they'll start there. There'll be a set of competencies. Maybe there's 4 or 5 competencies that, if you're going to be in this role, a competency might be industry knowledge. You have to understand the industry. Another competency might be customer relationship management. You've got to be good with people. So they'll identify these competencies. Another one might be financial acumen. So whatever these competencies are, they identify them. And then they identify the skills and behaviors that must be mastered in order to fully develop and master the competency. And then they get their managers to coach around these skills and behaviors and to develop these competencies. And everybody's individual, everybody's going to go at it a different way, but they're just very clear. It's going to be very difficult to be successful in this role if you don't have industry knowledge, if you don't have financial acumen, if you don't have good people skills. So it doesn't matter what your personality is, we must have these competencies mastered. And so this clarity of what's important to you and where are you going as a person, and what's important to our organization, and what do we need to see in you, and the behaviors we need from you, and how the manager is the one who brings all this together and creates this culture of high trust. And that's where you're going to get people who stay with you. They're offered more money. Good people are being headhunted all the time. They're being offered more money, exciting new opportunity, and they turn it down because they realize there's no way they can replicate the relationship that they have here with you and the relationship that they have here with the team and the healthy culture. It means too much to them. It's too fulfilling psychically for them to sacrifice leaving this, and they don't know what they're going to walk into. So you're going to definitely increase retention. You're going to definitely increase high trust. And when you can create these high trust cultures with people who are with you for a while, this is when you build high trust with your customers. Instead of them seeing a different face every month, every quarter, they're seeing the same people, and they're seeing people who are happy in their roles and who can really bring contribution, and you can have a high impact on your customers. So this is principle number 5, coach for transformation. I like to call it developmental coaching, where you're interested in the human being and you want to see how this human being grows and expands and becomes more goal-oriented and more focused and clear. And this is how you're going to have high impact on your customers. Principle number 5 is coach for transformation. The High Stakes Customer Podcast is brought to you by Whetstone, where we believe that high stakes growth doesn't just happen by accident. It happens when organizations align how they understand customers, how teams work together, and how decisions get executed under pressure. Whetstone. Sell sharper, grow faster. I'm Adrian Davis, and I hope you'll listen, subscribe, share, and sharpen your own capability in the relationships that matter most to you. Thank you for joining us.